I'd like to call the November 1, 2011 meeting of the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners to order. And as always, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Bailey will have our invocation tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I was driving in this morning to the office here, I noticed the absolute sheer beauty of Buncombe County in western North Carolina, and I think my thought first of all was, why would anybody want to live anywhere else? Also today is All Saints Day. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't thought about that, that's a remembrance day of people who have passed on, who have served us all well, both individually and as a community. And so, as we pray today, I hope that you'll remember all of those things. Please join me. Lord, thank you for providing our citizens the most beautiful place on earth to live. Help us as commissioners to protect this beauty as we continue to look for opportunities to do so. Help us to remind those who live here to join in protective efforts so that future generations may continue to enjoy this beauty. Lord, thank you for the opportunity to remember the many folk who have made our county a wonderful place to live on All Saints Day. We hope that all will remember, especially those who have served as commissioners or officials for this county, and the great work that they have done. Lord, thank you for the 93 veterans employed by Buncombe County that we honor today. We so appreciate their efforts protecting our freedom and the service they provide to Buncombe County. We also remember all other veterans and those who continue to serve in our armed forces, and we ask your protection of those especially in the war zones. For all these petitions we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by this Commission, it's the duty of every Commissioner to avoid both actual and apparent conflicts of interest. Does any board member know of any potential or actual conflict of interest of any matter coming before the board today?
No, sir.
None.
We've made a few changes in the chambers. The podium was moved away from the doorway to cut down distractions for citizens coming and going during the meetings. So the public comment, all the people that address the commission will be to my left at the podium position where it is. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with the exception of the moving up the DSS emergency assistance item to be discussed? Is there a motion to pass the agenda as it's been published?
So moved.
Been a motion by Commissioner Peterson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bailey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then we will follow the agenda as it is published with the exception of the DSS emergency assistance. Vice Chair Stanley is ill tonight. We wish him speedy recovery. He will not be with us tonight. Let's go ahead and do the good news, and this is real good news, and I'll recognize Commissioner Bailey for this recognition of our employees who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces. Commissioner Bailey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill Stanley, a true veteran of I believe it was he in the Marine Corps? Bill Stanley.
He was.
Would love to have been here today to honor our veterans, and as the chairman said, we wish him a speedy recovery. I'd like to read a little thing here that I think would be informational to all who are listening to this as it relates to Veterans Day. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, an armistice between Germany and the Allied nations came into effect. On November the 14th, 1919, Armistice Day was commemorated for the first time. 1919, President Wilson proclaimed the day should be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with gratitude for the victory. There were plans for parades, public meetings, and a brief suspension of business activities at 11 a.m. Then in 1926, the United States Congress officially recognized the end of World War I and declared that the anniversary of the armistice should be commemorated with prayer and thanksgiving. Congress also requested that the President should issue a proclamation calling upon the officials to display the flag of the United States on all government buildings on November 11, and inviting the people of the United States to observe the day in schools and churches or other suitable places with appropriate ceremonies of friendly relations with all other peoples. Then on May 13, 1938, an act of Congress made November 11 a legal holiday known as Armistice Day. This day was originally intended to honor veterans of World War I, and a few years later, World War II required the largest mobilization of servicemen in the history of the United States, and American forces then also fought in Korea. So in 1954, the Veterans Services Organization urged Congress to change the word armistice to veterans. Congress approved the change, and on June 1, 1954, November 11 became a day to honor all American veterans wherever and whenever they had served. So this year, November the 11th, 2011, is the first time, remember this now, is the first time that we will have the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of the year 2011 to honor our veterans. We have a video that's about to be played that will list the names of all 93 veterans who are employees of the county of Buncombe, and we honor all of those folk today. And if you will, please show us the video. If there are members of the 93 that were listed, if you are in attendance today, please stand so that we can recognize you. Thank you very much.
Why don't the ones who stood come up and just tell us who you are and your branch? We'd love to see and get a close up of you if y'all don't mind. Come on up.
I'm Jeff Waters. I was in the Marine Corps.
Vicki Small. I was in Army.
Walt Ward. I was in the Air Force.
Rick Jones, Army.
Devin Turner, Army.
Louis Santee, retired Navy.
Marty Abbas.
Glenn's a little bashful. What branch?
Air Force.
Air Force. Thank you, Mr. Mabias.
Marty Abbas.
We don't have anything without armed forces. We really don't have anything, so thank you so much for your service. Next, we'll do recognitions. Commissioner Peterson will talk to us about UNC-Asheville Bulldog Day.
Associate Director of Athletics here. Good to see you. Thanks very much. This is a great honor for me. We are very fortunate here in Buncombe County, in Asheville and Buncombe County, to have a great branch of the university system. Excuse me, I'm a little emotional. I'm not emotional about UNCA basketball. I'm a little emotional about all the great folks who served our country and who work for Buncombe County. Excuse me. We're very fortunate to have one of the great branches of the university system here in Asheville, and it's our honor today to talk just a little bit about the basketball team there and the fact that they're going to host those, I think they're called Tar Heels down from Chapel Hill, who just happens to be the #1 team in the nation, but they haven't seen anything until they come on November the 13th and play our UNC-Asheville Bulldogs, because it is going to be the game to end all games, and we're really excited about that, and that's going to be the first game that's going to be played in the new Sherrill Center, which happens to have a fine arena in there. So the city and the county wish to honor UNC-Asheville Bulldogs by proclaiming November the 13th UNC-Asheville Bulldog Day, and so I will read a proclamation to draw honor to that. Whereas, drawing students from all across the nation, the University of North Carolina at Asheville is well known for its dedication to academics and athletics, and has a wonderful athletic program and a new wellness center and an arena on campus. And whereas our community is very proud of the UNC-Asheville men's basketball team, who were the 2011 Big South Tournament champions and second round of the NCAA basketball championship playoffs. And whereas the UNC-Asheville Bulldogs will host the UNC Chapel Hill Tar Heels, one of the top-ranked college basketball teams in the nation, on November the 13th on the Bulldogs' home court at UNC-Asheville. And whereas the City Council of Asheville and the Buncombe County Commissioners wish to honor the UNC-Asheville Bulldogs as they start their athletic season by declaring a day in their honor. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners for the County of Buncombe and by the Mayor for the City of Asheville as follows, that November the 13th, 2011 will be proclaimed UNC-Asheville Bulldog Day in the City of Asheville and in Buncombe County, and that these boards hereby encourage all citizens to join with us in wishing our UNC-Asheville Bulldogs a championship season, that this proclamation be effected upon its adoption. Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of this proclamation.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Commissioner Jones. Is there any discussion?
Go Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs, and we're mighty proud. It's a wonderful facility. We had the pleasure of touring it. I think all of us have had that honor.
One thing, just 1 minute, if I could. Oh, we've got to take a vote.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries 4-0.
One point of information that perhaps folks do not realize is that Roy Williams, who's going to bring Roy's boys here to play the UNC-Asheville Bulldogs, was a classmate of Ann Ponders, who is the chancellor at UNC-Asheville. And I happened to be a teacher at Robertson when both those folks went through school. They both turned out pretty good, I think. So I'm pretty proud of the fact that Roy is bringing his boys to play Ann's boys. So that's great. And we have the Associate Director of Athletics. Did I get that right? Yes. Will you please accept this?
Yes, we will. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Carol, and thank you very much, Commissioners. This is a great day for UNC-Asheville to be proclaimed this UNC-Asheville Bulldog Day on November 13th. Before I get started, I don't have any tickets, okay? I don't have any tickets. We're sold out. We're sorry. If you don't have me, I'm sorry, but we do. But we will play 15 other games this year for the men's team and 15 other games for the women's team, so there's some chances to see our beautiful arena and see our men's team try to defend their Big South Conference championship at the arena and stuff. So please try to come out. Maybe not for that game, but it'll be on national television on ESPNU, so we hope if you can't be at the game, I think a chance to watch it. This is just great. Thank you very much. And to the veterans here, thank you very much from us at UNC-Asheville. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is Tara Foster here? It's my honor to read the proclamation of November as Adoption Awareness Month. Whereas Adoption Awareness Month is celebrated to call attention to the fact that every child deserves to grow up in a loving, nurturing, permanent home, and that this experience lays the foundation for a happy, productive adulthood. And whereas in North Carolina, approximately 9,000 children live away from their birth parents, and adoption is the permanent placement plan for 2,400 of these children who are waiting for a forever family. And whereas in Buncombe County there are 191 children in foster care and adoption, and the adoption is the permanency plan for approximately 20% of these children who are waiting for a forever family. And whereas during the month of November, Buncombe County Human Services, private adoption agencies, the faith community, and local advocacy groups will participate in statewide public awareness campaigns around adoption. This collaborative effort will focus greater attention on children who need permanent adoptive families and honor families who have adopted children. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners of Buncombe County that the month of November 2011 is hereby proclaimed Adoption Awareness Month in Buncombe County. That all citizens, community agencies, religious organizations, businesses, and others be encouraged to celebrate adoption and honor adoptive families by furthering their awareness of the issues of adoption and helping to focus attention on the need for adoptive parents and the children who are waiting for permanent homes. I will move adoption. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries 4-0. Ms. Foster, if we could hear from you.
Thank you. We greatly appreciate you honoring Adoption Awareness Month. And what we're doing this month is having, if you can see this, I don't know if you can, but we'll be having a Foster and Adoption Fall Festival, and it'll be taking place at the Crown Plaza Hotel on November the 12th from 2 to 5 p.m. And it's where our community, anybody that's interested in becoming a foster or an adoptive parent, can come out and learn a lot more about doing that. We appreciate our foster parents and our adoptive parents in the community, and we hope that people will recognize the need and come and learn a lot more about the needs of our children in our community. And we thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Next up, we'll have Commissioner Jones talk about or give a proclamation on Kids Voting Day.
We started this meeting on a high note, recognizing the veterans of our county, and it's an important segue to also remember that these brave men and women, one of the things that they committed to service for was to protect our democracy, and voting being the essence of how we practice that democracy. We've got some work to do. The last election that we had in this county was a municipal primary, and the turnout wasn't so great, but early voting has started, and there's an important referendum for all the county citizens to vote on, and there's also municipal elections. So we're going to turn that around this time. I just know it. And with me, there are citizens out there that are working very hard on a volunteer basis to remind our folks how important voting is. And they're doing this in a really important way through educating our kids. So this is Kathi Ballard with me, and I would like to read this proclamation and then share the microphone with her to do a little bit more evangelizing, Kathi, about some voting. But this is a proclamation about Kids Voting Day. Whereas voting is one of our most cherished rights as citizens in a free society, and whereas the kids voting curriculum, kindergarten through 12th grade, involves 30,000 students locally through the assistance of classroom teachers, and whereas Kids Voting has a strong partnership with the Asheville City and Buncombe County school system and with the County Board of Elections, with the fundamental purpose of helping children learn that voting is a precious right and duty. And whereas the mission of Kids Voting in Buncombe County is to secure the future of democracy by educating and involving youth in the election process today. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners for the County of Buncombe as follows, that November the 5th, 2011 be proclaimed Kids Voting Day in Buncombe County. That all parents be urged to take their children to the polls on Kids Voting Day so they can cast their votes together, and that all interested citizens be urged to volunteer with Kids Voting and help establish a generation of citizens who regard voting as vital to American life. And that this proclamation be effective upon its adoption. And I would like to make a motion that we adopt this Kids Voting Day proclamation.
I'll second the motion.
Been a motion by Commissioner Commissioner Jones, a second by Commissioner Bailey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. The proclamation is adopted 4-0.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. I'd like everyone to know, and you probably already do, that she was one of our founding board members in the year 2000 that established Kids Voting Buncombe County. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for recognizing the importance of everyone voting, and in this particular case, in kids voting. And we have an opportunity coming up this Saturday, Kids Voting Day, which gives the adults in our community the opportunity to discuss the election, the candidates, the issues with their students in their lives, whether they're their children, their grandchildren, their next-door neighbors, and then go together to any early voting location between 8 a.m. in the morning and 1 o'clock in the afternoon, where the adults can vote in the general election, and there'll be kids voting booths there, staffed by volunteers who will really make it a very special occasion for these kids to cast their ballots. In many cases, it may be their first ballot. We're also asking the adults in the community that once they do participate in kids voting and in casting their own ballot, that they take these kids somewhere and celebrate so that it becomes a lasting impression and the beginning of a lifelong habit of active citizenship and of voting in every election, because there are no elections that don't count. But thank you so much for this honor. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we've already established that, Dr. Green, we don't have a county manager's report today. Then we'll next introduce Jennifer Chilton, our social work program administrator with DSS, who will in turn introduce Veterans Service Office staff, and I think Kevin Turner will have an update for us after that.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Chilton, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Veteran Services Office, we want to thank you for the opportunity to be here this afternoon to provide you with some information about some changes and kind of a newly developed vision for our Veteran Services Office here in Buncombe County. Effective October 3rd, 2011, we are excited to announce that Veteran Services Office has joined our Social Work Division and aligned with our Adult Social Work Services Department. Momentarily, I will introduce to you our newly hired Veteran Services Supervisor. Kevin will provide you with information related to their local objectives for the Veteran Services Office, trends for veterans nationally, as well as trends within Buncombe County. He will additionally introduce to you our professional and dedicated new Veteran Services Office staff. It is my honor and privilege to introduce to you Buncombe County's new Veteran Services Office Supervisor. It's Brigadier General Kevin Turner. Kevin has returned to employment with Buncombe County after having been mobilized to return to serve in active duty since June of 2005. Prior to 2005, Kevin was employed with Buncombe County in the capacity of a social worker and a social work supervisor since 1999. So from 99 to 2005, he worked in Buncombe County. Has since returned to the Veteran Services Office Supervisor. We're excited about that. Kevin will bring experience that will provide a new perspective, a broader understanding of the needs and services for veterans, which will result in a positive outreach for our community and our agency. We thank Kevin and his team. We additionally thank other veterans who are here and have been honored this evening for their commitment and service to our country, and more specifically for the work that they continue to do in our community for veterans and citizens. I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Turner.
Thank you very much. Try very hard not to get fired.
Good.
It's a real privilege to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity to come and speak at all. You'll have to forgive the communist disease I've got. Hopefully it won't spread beyond just my small boundary here. I also want to tell you that this is not all I'm going to talk about. That's just the backup in case y'all ask me questions that I can't answer. I was trained, the idea is to be brief and be gone. So that's my intent. But what I want to do is to try to give you kind of a big picture and then bring it all the way into a smaller focus, if that's all right. There's roughly 25 million veterans in the United States, of which the group of veterans that served in Vietnam are the largest. They roughly make 7.5 million. We've reached a point in time now where the majority of our veterans are now combat veterans as opposed to veterans that just served in peacetime. We are losing our World War II vets at the rate of 1,000 a day, to give you an idea on how the population numbers are changing. Some other statistics that I want to share with you, which kind of hopefully will help paint the picture why we're important in terms of an office, not the vets themselves, but 18 vets kill themselves each day. That makes a number of about 26.28 out of a population of 100,000. That's the way you measure suicides. You compare that against the normal population figure, which is 11.1. So you can see that veterans are more than twice likely to commit suicide. On any given night, including tonight, there's roughly 107,000 vets that are homeless. That's 1 out of every 250 veterans. And I'll give you a figure, 8% of our population is veteran. But when you look at the homeless population, roughly 20% of the homeless population are veterans. So you can see there's some disproportionate representation there. Since December of 2009, which would be kind of the war that we've been engaged in most personally lately, there have been 3.3 million spaces, and I want to say it that way, deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Because of those 3.3 million spaces, there have been 2 million faces that have filled them. The reason you say it that way is because roughly 793,000 of them have been deployed more than once. You probably saw the news here recently where we had a ranger that was killed in combat, and it was like his 12th, 13th tour back in country. I mean, so we're beginning to get a lot of damage done through repeated deployments. Currently, and this is per the website, effective at the end of last month, we have 6,299 dead. Now that's kind of a number that we're familiar with. The number we may not be familiar with is 46,830. And that's the number of wounded that have been coming back home. There's also an unknown figure out there. As of June 2010, the Veterans Administration had treated 594,000 patients that have come from Iraq and Afghanistan. Of those, now get this, 295,000 were diagnosed with at least one mental health condition. So the point I'm trying to make is, in addition to these, tens of thousands of physical injuries, we have hundreds of thousands of mental health injuries that are coming along as well. Of those, 171,000 were diagnosed with PTSD. Now let me put this in perspective for you. 2007, a VA staff psychiatrist estimated a minimum figure of 300,000 psychiatric casualties as a result of these wars. That was, 4 years ago? We're right now hitting the boundary, and we're not finished yet. He has estimated the lifetime treatment cost of just those 300,000 psychiatric casualties as being $660 billion. That's more than the cost of the war to this point in time. And that's just the psychiatric casualties. 2007, the PTSD rates among returning veterans ranged from 12 to 20% of everybody that went. There's been a paper that's published in 2009 that suggests that because PTSD does not have an immediate onset, the actual numbers may be as high as 35%. So what that means then is that this guy's numbers are going to be the floor. It's not even going to be anywhere near where it's going to end up. I also want to tell you, there's a change in terms of just the faces that are coming back. In 2007, 8.1% of all of our veterans were female. Current military force is made up of 20% female. 1 of 3 in the military service have been victim of a sexual assault. That's compared to 1 in 6 in the general population. So our female veterans that are coming back home with issues that are beyond just those that have to do with combat. Statistically, there are indicators that show that women are more likely to experience PTSD when exposed to the same sort of trauma. So we haven't seen the end of these figures that are coming. Unknown altogether is the impact of a thing called TBI, which you may have heard of, traumatic brain injury, which is what happens when you're near an explosion and basically it just shakes your brain up. We've had 220,000 of those occur in the last 10 years. Now, let me bring it down a little bit more into Buncombe County for you. In 2010, Buncombe County had 21,398 veterans. Now, that's per the Veterans Administration. Only 5 counties in North Carolina have more veterans than we do, which should be really significant to you if you look at a map, because that means on the 1/3 side of North Carolina, we're the dominating population of veterans. Veteran Affairs total expenditures for 2010 were listed at $136,748,000 inside of Buncombe County. So that's money from outside of Buncombe County that is brought into Buncombe County to try to help assist with veterans. Only 6 counties bring in more money in North Carolina than Buncombe County. The VA projects a gentle decline of 200 or so veterans per year. I'm thinking that's probably based on the fact that we're losing those World War II vets, and we're not creating vets at the same rate that we're losing our World War II vets. I want you to remember some things, though. Inside of Buncombe County, while the VA can say we're going to decline, there are some pieces to this pie we need to remember. We have a VA hospital. We have a state cemetery. We have an effective veterans homeless shelter that's working through ABCCM. We're building a 100-bed veterans nursing home. We're the largest urban area on the western third part of the state, which is where people are going to come when they've got trouble. And to complicate my life, the district Veterans Affairs office is moving out of Buncombe County, moving into Haywood County, and is assuming responsibility for twice the geographic area. What that means is that we have got our work cut out for us. I want to tell you what Buncombe County has done now. I've kind of laid the stage for you. One thing that Buncombe County has done that has made me very, very proud, even though I am a Haywood County resident, is they have treated their veterans with a degree of honor that I am really, really proud of. And it's not just the thing today. What I want to do is point to how I was treated as an example of how you've taken care of your veterans. I've been gone for 6.5 years. You understand that? Think about that. 6.5 years. And yet what Buncombe County did is they maintained a place for me. And then when 6.5 years is up and I'm getting ready to come back, it wasn't like they set you up to fail. They could have done that. They could have put me back in the social work supervisor position. We could have had disaster and chaos. I could have been fired. You know, they were willing to train me, which is a good thing. But the idea was even better, let's find a place where we can actually use him, where maybe his skill set that he had from the military can match up with some of the requirements and needs that we have in the county. That's thinking outside the box. And you know, Lisa Eby, Ms. Mandy Stone, and others, they're the ones that get the credit for that. They represented your county well in terms of trying to take care of veterans. Now, the second thing you guys do is you actually have a county veteran service office. Let me tell you what we do. We provide counseling and assistance to local veterans and their dependents of their rights and entitlements under various state and federal law. We prepare necessary forms and papers. We obtain supporting documents, and we push paperwork into the system. But now here's the real deal. We are advocates for the veterans. We don't have to guard the system's resources. We advocate for the veterans. We help them find help. We assist them with the sometimes very complicated maze of state and federal paperwork. We have the privilege of making sure the veteran knows that they are not forgotten and that their country and their community appreciates the sacrifices that they have made for them. I draw a paycheck for this. This is just about as good as it gets in my world. Now, I want to introduce you to the people that draw paychecks with me. What they did when they decided to put resources against a problem set is the way I would say it. They went from an office of one. They moved us to a geographic location where the veterans could actually find us. You're actually right there, you know, across from the bank, and there's a sign and everything right there where we can be found. They hire a brigadier general as an office manager. They go and they hire Walt Ward, stand up Walt, an Air Force veteran who we pulled out of retirement after spending 31 years as a rating specialist and decision review officer for the U.S. Veterans Affairs. Now think about what we just did. This is the dude that wrote the manuals and stuff that we have to go along with. So we've got the guy from inside the system that we have to deal with. This is the guy that knows people, who calls people, who makes things happen because he knows. So we did a good job hiring Walt. Sit down, Walt. Stand up, Rick. What we did next was we went and we found an Army aviation veteran who we stole from the United States Army Reserve Army Strong Community Center program. He is my resources guru. Your tax dollars already trained him. Contracts have already given him the exposure. We steal him from the reserve and we put him to use here. Good resource management in my mind. Thanks. We have one other person who's part of our our office crew. It's our clerical help. She is our only non-veteran. But I want you to get this about her. She's worked the last 3.5 years, her name is Sherry Manning, with the North Carolina Division of Veteran Affairs at the district level. In other words, she's essentially working now at the office that does quality control over our work before we submit it to the federal government. So I've got the dude that did the planning, I've got the guy that knows the resources, and I've got the woman that manages the quality control all working in my office. This is as good as it gets. Now you know why I like working where I work. You guys have given us the resources to do the job. If we fail, it won't be their fault. It'll be mine. I thank you for the opportunity, and I'll be glad to take any questions that you might have, or more than likely probably refer them to my resident experts who actually know the ins and outs of everything.
Please tell me how the veterans in Buncombe County know where you are and what you do, and what sort of advocacy are you doing to the many veterans we have here? That is a plan that is in progress. Right. One of the first things we had to do was to begin to try to get the websites cleaned up. Good. Believe it or not, I received a very strongly worded email from a lady in the Veterans Affairs world that said, okay, you need to do this. I didn't even realize it, but our information was incorrect on a federal level website, which we got straightened up. Next step is working at the county, and we've just made the reviews on the county. There's a sign out front, which is really, really cool. But the biggest deal is the next step, which actually happens when you begin to integrate with the different veteran groups and associations inside the county. As soon as they know who you are and where you are, it begins to spread. For example, Walt has developed a reputation with the guys and gals that are at the homeless shelter. We will get calls asking specifically for Walt. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to Rick. They want to talk to Walt because word spreads. And the veteran community is a pretty tight community. And that's actually, above all, the best way to get the word out is just inside that community. That help? Yes, sir. And you have communication with Representative Schuler's office and the other folks who represent. Very close communication, since we share a wall with them. Yeah, and they've got somebody inside their office that the congressman has assigned the responsibility for that we work really, really close with to try to coordinate. Thank you. They've been very good about that.
Good.
Excellent. Any more questions for Mr. Turner? Thank you so much for what you do for our veterans. Okay, I'd like to recognize our sheriff is here. Sheriff Duncan, always good to have you. Thank you, sir. Next we have Cynthia Breyfogle, the director of the VA Medical Center. Cynthia, as you're coming up, let me talk about you a little bit. She was appointed the Medical Center Director on June the 7th of 2010. She's responsible for the operation of a 116-bed acute care hospital, 120-bed community living center, as well as 2 community-based outpatient center in Franklin and in Rutherford County. She has served in with the VA since 1996. She has more credentials than we have time to go over, but she is a very, very qualified director, and we're mighty glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all you're doing for our vets.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners, and for having me this evening. I certainly do appreciate it. First, I would say thank you to the veterans. Thank you for your service and for allowing us to provide service right back to you. I am pleased and proud to represent the employees and the staff of the Charles George VA Medical Center, where we do take care of America's heroes. As the commissioner mentioned, that is our full mission and our full-time challenge. As General Turner outlined some of the statistics nationally and in the county, we certainly have that same dynamic and demographic of the veterans that we provide care for. A little bit unlike a traditional hospital, at the VA Medical Center located down on Tunnel Road, we provide both inpatient and outpatient care in that same setting. So our veterans can come to our medical center just for their daily appointments, but then also if they are to be hospitalized. We do have the 2 community-based outpatient clinics where we take care of about 3,200 veterans there. At the main hospital, we have 38,000 veterans enrolled, and in addition to the figures that were cited earlier, veterans that reside here in Buncombe County and in all of western North Carolina receive care. And we do, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but we do have veterans who drive past other VA medical centers to come to Asheville because they choose to receive their care there, and we're most happy to have them. We have the Community Living Center, which is our long-term care. We have a hospice unit and a long-term rehabilitation unit. We also have an inpatient substance abuse, as well as inpatient psychiatric care, a surgical ICU, a medical ICU, and we operate 7 operating rooms every day, in addition to our emergency department. Now, we do that to take care of the veterans, about 34,000 veterans, and echoing the demographic that was cited earlier, the majority of our veterans are of the Vietnam era. We take care of about 1,600 female veterans to date, and the OEF, OIF from Iraq and Afghanistan and Operation New Dawn veterans represent about 3,800 of the veterans for whom we provide care. We do that with a staff of 1,637 employees. Of that, we have about 125 doctors, 600 nurses, and to address the mental health need that was shared earlier, we have 51 either psychiatrists or social workers completely dedicated to the mental health mission and the mental health needs of our veterans. Our budget is about $244 million a year. Of that, we send about $20 million back into Buncombe County and local health care to buy care from the community. There are some things that veterans need, but not at a large enough volume that it's a good return on investment for us to provide it in the VA, so we pay for it in the community, and we have strong partnerships with some of the community hospitals with the 16 healthcare systems in western North Carolina. The other thing I wanted to share, one of the reasons that I feel many veterans drive past other medical opportunities to come to Asheville is our patient satisfaction scores. The VA measures 23 domains of satisfaction, both inpatient and outpatient. At Asheville, I'm very proud to say that we score above the national average of all VAs in 20 of the 23 domains. So our staff just does an excellent job in providing care for veterans. A couple of special programs that I just wanted to share with you. VELR, which is the Virtual Lifetime Electronic Record. We are a pilot here in western North Carolina because of the excellent healthcare system. And what that means is at the VA, well, as the commissioner cited, I've been with the VA since 1996, so since I've been there, we've had electronic medical records. In the community, you have great electronic medical records. But what this pilot is doing is allowing us to share. So if a veteran, say, is in a car accident and they're taken to a hospital in Rutherford, that physician can pull up their entire electronic record and see every care that they've been provided at the VA. Likewise, when the veteran comes back to the VA, our VA physician can pull up the electronic record. And this truly is a life-saving thing for our veterans. You know their allergies, you know what care they've been receiving, you know what drugs they're taking. Very, very helpful. Our rural outreach program, trying to reach veterans who do not live in this kind of metropolitan area, has been extremely active. We mentioned the homeless program. We have a homeless coordinator and a staff that helps with the veterans who are homeless here in Buncombe County. And our Veteran Justice Outreach Coordinator, which works with your officials and with your local law enforcement as well as the local judicial system. Our goal is to try and help a veteran who might be losing their way and getting into some type of legal issue before that happens. So we try to help them through this system to preclude them coming up, with having some type of record, which is just going to make everything more difficult. And it's a proactive program. It's funny the question that you raised, because on my talking points, you know, typically I'm asked, what can we do to help? And what you can do to help is get the word out. Let veterans know about the benefits. They can work through the county. We have service officers at the hospital on the 4th floor. We have an entire group that's just dedicated to helping veterans get enrolled, understand their benefits, and understand how to use the system. And that's really important for veterans to stay engaged, because it is a big bureaucracy. The rules are somewhat difficult, and the rules change. So a veteran who may not have been eligible for care earlier may be eligible at this time, so we really do want to help them. We have va.gov, an Asheville page. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have every kind of electronic connection that you would like. We have developed secure messaging so veterans can communicate with their physicians via email. And a really big effort that we're undertaking is virtual medicine. So being able to work with a veteran that doesn't require them to come to the medical center, but to online through different type of health devices to monitor their device in their homes without traveling. And the last thing I want to mention in context to your earlier announcement about Veterans Day, on the 11th month of the 11th day at the 11th hour, 11 a.m. on Veterans Day, please join us at the Medical Center, where we will have a celebration of veterans that day. In addition to honoring veterans every day as we do at the Medical Center, that's a special day where we would like to honor them. But again, to the veterans, thank you for your service, and to the Commission, thank you for inviting me this evening, and I would be happy to entertain any questions.
We were talking about contracting with other agencies in the community. Is there an example of that?
With our non-VA care that we provide, right here in Buncombe County, a majority of it goes to Mission because of their trauma center and because of the proximity. We have contracts to perform audiology. I can say this because I'm married to a veteran. Most veterans have hearing issues. Is that fair? It's all the weapons and all the loud machinery. And so audiology has been our continual challenge. And so we have contracts there. We have some endoscopic contracts. But typically what we would do, it's either something that's very unique to just a small group of veterans that they need, or something of large volume, like the audiology care that we need, and we'll do a contract with the community.
Thank you.
Ms. Breyfogle, other than the obvious question, what can we do to help you? I think you've already got that one. What else can we do besides getting the word out for you as a county? Because we do value our veterans. It's an important part of who we are and what we do, what our public policy is here. So is there anything else that we can do to help the VA or be involved with the VA?
I think really just get the word out. I mean, these are benefits that the veterans have earned, and we just want to make sure that they're fully aware of what they do have entitled, and to provide them with the best health care we can. We are also, I'm sure you've heard of the HEROES Act, or hiring heroes. At the VA Medical Center, 36% of our employees are veterans. We have 641 of our 1,600 employees who are veterans. So we also like to make that opportunity available through USA Jobs is how we do our hiring. So I would say advise veterans of their benefits, and then also of the hiring opportunities. And we also work very closely with Congressman Schuler's office, John Mitchell in particular, with resolving issues.
Yep. Any other questions?
Excellent report.
Thank you so much for your good work. Next, I'll recognize Mandy Stone with the, there was on the consent agenda a DSS Emergency Assistance Fund Amendment, $288,503. Mandy, could you tell us a little bit about that and how that program works since we're getting into the cold season?
Absolutely. Chairman and Commissioners, this particular budget amendment is crisis intervention dollars. It's for low-income individuals experience either a heating or a cooling crisis. These are 100% federal dollars that pass through from the federal government to the state, and in North Carolina to the counties who act as the agents for public assistance programs. They are targeted particularly for households with vulnerable populations, elderly households, households with young children. Our budget prior to this amendment was $1 million this year, so this takes us to $1.28 million so far this year. That compares to last year's funding, which at this point was at $1.15 million. So it's about a $700,000 increase at this point in the year. We do anticipate additional allocations of crisis intervention money. We received 3 allocations in the course of last fiscal year, and we do know that the federal government announced today the release of additional dollars. We don't yet know what that trickle down will be to Buncombe County. As you all know, we partner for the delivery of all emergency assistance programs with both Asheville Buncombe Christian Ministry and Eblen Charities. So individuals have a variety of places where they can apply for these services. We also have $400,000 county dollars of our Work First block grant that go to emergency assistance or crisis dollars as well. I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Mandy, do we have a way to check if people are applying more than one place?
We absolutely do. We share a software system, which is actually the only system in the state that allows all the providers. That includes not only federal dollars or county dollars, but dollars their individual organizations raise. Those are all kept in one database, and when any individual goes to apply at any one setting, they have access to all of that data to ensure we best use the resources that come to our community.
And I guess we don't know what the winter will be like, but do we have enough last year to go through and take care of everyone who needed help?
We got through last year with no unexpended dollars. Our partners probably raised a third of what we also put on the table, so there were those additional dollars. We anticipate this year, we're preparing for the worst, and a lot of that has to do with the economy and understanding that there are an increased number of individuals, both elderly and families, who will struggle through this heating season, both with the cost of heating as well as just how they may have been impacted in the last year around jobs and other programs. We also know that partner federal programs such as the LEAP program have significantly changed this year, and that's a one-time check individuals receive in February. It has been significantly reduced on a federal level and will be targeted only to our senior citizens. So there'll be many families who are used to receiving that one-time check in February who will not receive that check this year. Buncombe has had a long-standing coordinating council beacon of all the emergency assistance providers who have been meeting routinely, so we prepare for the worst-case scenario. We want to help all of our citizens to the greatest extent possible. We've also done a lot of work on our sheltering and our emergency sheltering programs with our partners to ensure if we do have a difficult winter, we have a way to ensure a safe place for people if they have a loss of electricity or experience other kinds of crises. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any other questions? Great program. Thank you for administering it. Is there a motion to adopt the budget amendment?
So move.
Second.
And a motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you
All
very
opposed,
much.
no. The budget amendment passes 4-0. As announced earlier, we are not going to do planning board appointments today. We are going to leave the application process open until end of the week.
Week from
Till
today.
a week from today, November 8th, and then we will both interview and appoint the board on the November 15 meeting, which is our next meeting. We do have an applicant for the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. Is there a motion for appointment there?
So moved.
Danielle DeJournette.
Yep, I could pronounce the name out of it.
DeJournette's my best guess, student
Okay.
member.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, as a member of this council, I want to say that this is something that's recommended by this council, and the student has expressed great interest in being a part of it. So I second that motion.
Okay, Ms. Danielle DeJournette has been nominated and seconded. Are there any other nominations? If not, we'll vote on Ms. DeJournette. All those in favor of appointing her to the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. She is appointed. The next regular meeting of our board will be November 15, 2011 at 4:30. and commission meetings can be seen on BC Charter Cable Channel 2, ATT Uverse Channel 99, live on buncombecounty.org during the meetings, or online anytime at buncombecounty.org. Mr. Frew, we'll be needing a closed session tonight.
No, sir. No closed session tonight.
All right, then we are at public comment. The official business of the county is concluding. We're now going to hold public comment. A reminder of some of our rules. The time limit for any comment to the commission is 3 minutes. If your time expires, you may leave any questions along with your name, address, and phone number with the county manager, and they will be answered. Board members are not expected to comment on matters during public comment. Comments should be limited to subjects that are within the jurisdiction of this commission and pertain to matters upon which it may act. Any individual speaking during public comment shall address the entire board. Any polling of board members is inappropriate. People addressing the board are expected to observe the decorum of the chamber and be respectful to everyone in the room. Anyone who willfully interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts the session will be asked to leave the meeting. The Commission reserves the right to deny public addresses on a subject that's been previously presented to the board. Okay, those are the rules we're going to have. Are there any public comment tonight? Yes, sir, on the front row.
Name is Don Lilienfeld. One, I applaud the board for the County Veteran Services. Until tonight, I had no idea that we had a County Veteran Services group. I applaud the board for that. Thank you very much. I served for 2 years, a long time ago before you guys were born, I think. But anyway, that's number one. And I applaud the veterans in the room. Thank you for your service. And thank you guys for taking care of the people coming back. Appreciate it. PTSD just brings tears to my eyes, but I won't go into that right now. Anyhow, the next thing I want to tell you is that kids voting is critical. I'm an election official in the county, and when the kids come in to vote, the smiles on their faces and the pride they have leaving the voting enclosure is just beautiful. And the 10% turnout in the city primary is something that is horrible. It's horrible for a couple of reasons. One, I'm an election official. I worked in Grassy Branch Baptist Church. We had 7 people. And we had 3 people working there. I mean, the money is good, don't get me wrong. I get maybe $5 an hour for my 40 hours. But anyway, all kidding aside, it's just painful. Now, we had 7 people who qualified to vote because Grassy Branch is on a border between the county and the city. So there are very few city residents in Grassy Branch. But we had 14 folks come down from the county who wanted to vote, and they didn't know. They couldn't vote. So it's my pleasure, no, it's my job to say, I'm sorry you can't vote in this election. If you push it, I'll give you a ballot anyhow. But it's tough. It really is tough, and I don't know how to get the word out. You know, fortunately, we have a county board here who we deserve to have. I appreciate all of you. But in most elections, we get the people that people wouldn't want if they voted. And I think even more important, what I'd like to stress is this. The general election is important to vote at. But if I had to stress something for the kids, the most powerful thing you can vote during is the primary. Because during the primary, we have a choice of candidates. Once the primary is over...
Finish up, Mr. Littlefield. Go ahead.
Okay.
Just finish your thought.
I'm sorry. Once the primary is over, you're stuck with my choice.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Littlefield.
I'm sorry it took so long.
No, no, thank you. Thank you for your good words. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Brother Christopher, council, I made my farewell address to the city last week. I'm not going to be gone very long, but just long enough to let you all know you're going to get what you deserve. A few weeks back, I gave a prophetic word to the city council that they would reap the iniquities that they had sown. Isn't that also about 3 or 4 days later when the 99%ers showed up to reflect, to tell you the iniquities of allowing corporate to taint the vision of our democracy run by a republic? You ask how the weather's going to be. You don't know how this winter's going to be. I can tell you. Lord told me what it was going to be like, and then he showed me. Y'all know about the mountain myth about the woolly worm? It's brown and the little black stripe in the middle. The longer it is, the worse the winter's going to be. I found one. Small, totally black, and dead. Enjoy your winter. You see, God is a righteous God. God is a just God. And God can only allow iniquity to go on for so long, giving grace the chance to repent. Repenting from things such as destroying public access here in Asheville. Taking away the only power the people have to voice out to the entire community. You know, it's funny, the game that was played last year, we had problems with the city giving the money, but the county was there. This year, when the county said they weren't going to give the money, the city wanted to look good. So they said, we'll pay, knowing that the public access could not enter the contract. Good game playing. Give you another example of the game playing. It happened on Lexington Avenue. The city knew that they couldn't give permission for those campers to be down there. The DOT would step in, but it makes the city look good. The hypocrisy is so stingent in this town that a skunk would smell better than this county. I would rather put my nose there than here. I go, when I leave Asheville, to seek a vision quest. Because right now, God is saying leave. Turn your back on this county, turn your back on this city, and let them see what I can do. You've given the word to repent. They refuse to. They still charge for public access, which they do not provide. They changed a paid grant to what they wanted, which was a tax, so that they could tax all the people, not just some of the people. Because it wasn't a tax. It was a fee paid by Charter Cable to use our property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christopher. Any other public comment? Mr. Yelton?
Don Yelton, and I just gave you today something that's going on in San Francisco, since Asheville is known as Little San Francisco. And what is happening today in San Francisco is they're looking at passing a resolution that you can't be naked in a restaurant. And you have to have a towel and put it on a park bench before you sit down, because they have a situation where people are being naked and sitting down on park benches, and they're transmitting diseases. So I just give this to you as a way to let you know what some other areas are doing in case you decide you want to do something about topless in the streets, because guess what? We have a rule you got to have shirt and shoes in a restaurant. That can be enforced for male and female. There'll be no sexual discrimination, and you got your problem solved. So I just wanted to pass that along to you. I know that we've got a lot of problems here. I know that Greece today turned down their buyout. The stock market fell 250 this morning. It's falling around the world because now they're concerned that Greece doesn't take the buyout. They don't know what's going to happen, and it's going to affect everybody. And they say there'll not be a vote until January. So we're going to have a very grim holiday season as far as looking at the stock market. It's been announced that the committee of 12 will consider cutting Social Security. And when I heard that on the radio, I thought of what that means to Asheville. As you very well know, 85% of the people that go to the hospital can't afford to pay for the treatment they get. How's that going to impact us? It's going to really be bad. How's that going to impact the veterans? Where does the money come from? What does this mean for Buncombe? We spend trillions to bring jobs in the area. We also ask for a 3.7% increase in the sales tax, which is an increase in a tax regardless of what you say. And as these things happen, where are we going to be? How are we going to address that? Because we do know that you're going to have property tax evaluation coming down the road. And what's going to happen when you find out that property is overvalued by about 35 to 40%? Those numbers are coming. So you're going to have to increase the tax rate very severely. And then I find out that we as citizens have to clean up and tear down the building at CTS and tear the building down and pay for it. And I just wonder if there's any connection between the attorney at CTS for Mills Gap Road Associates and the Hyman Young greenhouses and a man who owns 2/3 of that property and a previous attorney for the Air Pollution Control Board. I just asked that question for this board to please consider that, because I don't appreciate the citizens of Buncombe County having to pay to tear that building down. I thank you for tearing it down, and I thank you for leaving the concrete there, but I don't appreciate us having to pay for it. I think CTS or Mills Gap Road Associates should have paid for it, because now they're going to have a piece of property that they hold clear title to, and it'll be set up for brownfields. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yelton. Any other public comment tonight? Yes, sir. Milton in the back.
Dr. Milton Byrd. I have a bit of concern about watching and following some of the events that's been going on at this podium. This is a statement when the people come to local governance that they have a platform where freedom of speech is empowered, not only recognized in the duty of stewardship for this sacred object we call freedom of speech, our constitutional authority, but the framework of interacting with that is now developing a reputation with this commission that's getting disturbing. I recognized earlier that there was applaud, and it was deserved. Yet I have seen where the public applauds someone and there be, I'll just call it rejection. The challenge of elected officials interacting with this podium requires a stewardship and a leadership that needs to be flexible to the point that sometimes it really does seem kind of absurd. Yet that price that's been paid for that freedom is sitting here with us. They're called veterans. Last week I had the wonderful opportunity of representing we the people, this Occupy Asheville, to the city of Asheville. Because there is such a strong voice throughout the country to reestablish self-governance, we the people, in a format that allows people to reestablish their voice because they have lost it here. It is a trust issue with the people. I have tried to talk to you quite a while about being with the people. We've got hard times coming at us. We're just beginning to see the tip of the iceberg coming up out of the ocean of difficulties. We have got a limited situation here of the people having a voice, gaining a situation where we here in the Asheville area can work with the people in win-win leadership. And that has to be established right here at this podium, right here in your governance and your stewardship of that people power, because the people have the authority that put you there as representation. Do not underestimate how valuable and how protected your responsibility is for that freedom of speech and the right to gather in public assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Byrd. Any other public comment tonight? Yes, ma'am.
Chairman Gant, Board of Commissioners, my name is Leanne Smith. I live and I work in Arden near the contaminated CTS site, and I'm a member of the Community Action Group that's been working toward cleanup of this site. And I'm here tonight to let you know how happy we are about the withdrawal of the appeal to the condemnation of the building. We are certainly excited about the onset of the demolition set to take place later this month, and we're hoping that some of the costs can be recouped from the recyclable materials that can be found in the building. As you are aware, bringing the building down is a wonderful first step in this cleanup effort, and we're looking forward to a continued collaborative relationship with you and the EPA as we strive to address the cleanup of the contaminants following the demolition of the building. I want to thank you for working with us on this project that impacts the health and safety of so many people in our community. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Any other public comment tonight? Bryce?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm passing you out a stack of emails that you already should be aware of, that in response to AB Tech board, president, members, and the commission. Mr. Chairman, you directed them to answer my questions in January of 2010. I finally got an answer of a little bit, and it's in red in these emails. I would be ashamed to be called a member of AB Tech alumni, as I am, if people that went to AB Tech couldn't answer a question any better than what I've got on this sheet of paper. Now, furthermore, to complicate things, I asked the president to have a meeting with him or his staff or whomever he directed 7 days ago or so. He has not returned that yet. His media person has not returned my phone call, and I've left 2 messages, and I continue to be not heard. I am concerned not only by that, but by also the media coverage with this AB Tech and County Commission referendum on the ballot. My concern is, and one of the big ones, is the questions of environmental issues regarding the Inca plant and where we've got the AB Tech proposed to put the money into. I think we'd have a catastrophe on our hands as big as CTS, if not bigger, when we go to looking at the Inca campus and the Inca soccer fields and stuff of that nature. So my concern goes further than just the referendum. It goes to the concern of the heart of the public. I'm also concerned that we are subsidizing the hospital here, the taxpayers, through this referendum, and be building a monstrous building for nursing, and us taxpayers subsidizing a nonprofit organization. And besides, I think as this commission and members on this commission, as Board of Trustees, and also staff members, we, the people, should be heard from the president and his staff at AB Tech. And here I am again. I should not have to come and remind this commission from January 2010 until now, and the members on the Board of Trustees, that I cannot even get a meeting with the staff. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Are there any other public comment tonight? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Peterson, second by Commissioner Bailey. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.